Okay, malungol tutaw. Merigi dira ko ilalta mo duk mo sel toksor gidra PCS Palau Conservation Society. Ma akmong ulong yung sa Yalap mang open ra program gid kada malmol labang kila special case dira tutaw. Tutaw Yalap kamro mo ulong yung leto mo ulo.
Why say malungol tutaw spider man masaura tagi del silsel March 5th do environmental hour Palau Conservation Society PCS LR raka celebrate ra okadir rak tiam okadir regila Palau Conservation Society manggi kadukora plo reng sa Tirigel board members Tirigel founders LR sils kadukuk ngaltangatal ngaring kay gidali luk sa Isechal kang uluror Palau Conservation Society kukmle move on mora sila mora government mora national government nga sil MAFE sing Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and Environment why say so ngungi luriora lorul ngungi luriora lurura Palau Conservation Society el ang kukmla move on maldira mal gora ngaring isel collaboration ro tagi del MAFE ngara tagi del national government el ang kuk ngaring ya makadukung ulmem kukura o gera igel tele sera lorio igel mlebrel mlewangara experience ringi sab edel kuk mo o ngaring ya adalo reng sa kuk sab edel ase o man mlewngil kuk kadukura ka susu sab miul sab era adalo o reng sebel ngarinya kadri ito dong mera 4883 4716 tagi del ngarel Palau Eco Paradise FM 87.9 mang kaki dele open kedel dire kang kaki dele Lotita Gibbons kang atir ko bro PCS mal makatatang tirigele ito tulo ase temlamo o diak ajulita last time ngata to se tawrot tirigel ko tawrot rapis se kabial ko kom dire kara tirigel mo oy mangungil ugile di akpla obe se kardio darsa aktio darsa susirgidro ku yun mora tirigel mga taklela other bela roguy ma mga taklel bela ora tirigel ba marmasam tirigal nga kabelment Gimplol ko mga matar ko mila se moreng sa ikaltokor environmental dosadra pek kalong erulurior komtun in mora 87.9 FM ra 9 AM en ngaring gigidel moblol betokol issue tokor tegidel wasitial Palau Conservation Society okdera magaranga dalutulo mesral mutulo okdera kalangal medal time ekemutial mal mlaringi makamukora o ay sa agil lurior morur el sebel kom collaborate trabangela PCS opang kami lurior makami makalurior yung kataka ngay mong korang mahal pa yo to so malungil total mera other bela rokuy dongo lalata korang ngil so mil balbong mang kom korang mo ay sa igil kalapong luk kapong luk sulu asin sa ML kukura wasay sir obe ak ma-remember sir obe kamal ko natin ko nagkakaroon natin yung ilang na to nakalay ko kasi sir time kadir ka bachelors el chemistry makora o kera kaulu wasay kaukuluro rakay ko wasay kuluro rala pangaraklele emamle fale bro ya anum lagi emam bro lagi kako pa amsadar kali ko staff mini wasay malbik shoe say galor nila anum trail mo fit yalo ka kamral mlawgil Laureor kaya kamral smart tal ngal kalmal ngila experience ra kalobang kemal direk so malamat dumat sa mukha ko.
Malungil tuta Yalap, maloli, mar listeners. Ang akablay kel do Yalap aklo si isalak nemo bul mera bulur bela ra 2006. Serak me PCS awal blol first lurerek. Ya serak pong yung larngar tokol ngaya wa Yalap al mlarsay. Ngayon nga Mrs. Bernie Kilderman, ngayon nga the late other day, Gillian Johannes. So tirgay kita ko rawal sa loryor kataplool ko ra angil sa ngayon nga ko ra makatakit ta loryor, mara magiklol at ta loryor ngayon nga malbuto ko da soup. Sir ako talmoryor akmle tamle hay nga kal terrestrial conservation officer. So selmle ko ramle nga alakar sel time am laring isel ko ra Urior PCS selta melom kota pebra son sorol mafana so se agoram le first clorior koram longora alari wase tel awasen gamla raskura ke mestri men agoram dungi aigal al kru la peap mga segi da agora wase amne first re wase makarang at importa wai sei di ser gagidel kale la peabra wherever America New Zealand Australia ang kirel may ika bato kalul ika poison so nga gagidel luul at transport maluul at store matalawasen kal ako at talgiban matangay gagidel lurior so sige da ako ramne first lurior sera eventually ra the bottom quadra peabra son sorol initially gimirula ko ra study mesrang kalbe tamatele la awangi kalal interact labong kelang kalbe tamarwa arung Molmong sel molmos sera the planner cell eradication project. Ito para son sorol sel afana sel dablong stack. Magim ne stack sel son sorol talbuy makamamamnos bamon mo senkyo.
I say.
So sige da ako ne first lurerek and then molmlol evolve kuklo collaborate labong kira now minister nga kal minister Stephen Victor sige del time nga Rapid Creek mangkal el senator umiisang bawol at the time yung uloryo Nature Conservancy yagi kukuloryo lo maktu persel Palau initially mne Bubble Dab Watershed Alliance elmlo omesra Bubble Dab mo omesa igel ko ram maklol tutelel lolak magi mararal malwase makarada protect so igigita ko ram ne tul makloryo ko knesep ikal contribute serak mara urolo pangkala PCS akora sel kora reflect back yung korawal tel PCS akoram le incubate ra career nga kartel belaw se amne tel legal mo sa belara all the way rang ayang all the way mora Sige global yur dial balu. Sel dulu asen girem masabal wam mablim understand ringi. I think that's what that means.
Yes.
Kamo matang level wam di kadim no si kamil saramap po kam longol mo ma adal keringi matreteli al kera southwest el 3 months. Kamo matang life ra ako ra tirkal other bela ra all the way rang ayang al mo southwest. So that was sel kora reflect back artegi del partra sila ko tilme bela ko siya ako rawal blel incubate not only my career but I think my interest kasi nga ngot el swakal mo nga nga ngot el gira kal masu nga ako raw ngil bok focus ngira kagidel ko to raw environment and then akmal grateful tirgay gidel Yalap marwa perni tirgay ko ne maklol other cell time cell gim ko ra mo meeting ra balu ka ko ra o matalabar tila ka mamamigalen ka gagi mo ngel wase ata pura balu ang makara mo la meeting ngara tru alla ngara ta at urara tama ay kita ko ra kum taseng part ra duel ta kasi super school no matter what school ma ngara university bor ngay kita ta adya ka mo sis akla unless kawa mo murut artelurior o lo bantirar ata ko ra magkiko tarirel ko ra kay tarkaw gire lagi kita so sige da ko ra initial experience nga kara PCS like I said it's a koram na incubate to me and I think direct patokol at
why sige dili parimemper dal para sa sorole koram loriat talgibal kamle project manager so 1 week mo break at tabamli maro week mo oram loria oy ma abelim lom tak tumbarta ay kaloles roguy emro kong gibora sa sorbo malaran memsil ke bakal talsit sa sarude ya magi tiak mal ko lalo sa decide
tangala imura
kel tal sandera son solo como mangala fanna o umbral ko ram le fani kasi selbo reflect back tira kasi dira krama ay ka maringal akloludo da angara 300,000 emerkong takasabel mol fail al sukumang di imol afat tomalitial migiredan mo mega Agang executive decision nga.
So malungi lang pinga per se Yalap se ako ramle first time nga kal lo ngora raw yor tiel mong yung mga baitel mong yung meron ka beta one thing that's a straightforward cell manager maybe a team of 25 people doing this of course sige da tira ate mga nga mo kasi parang urang kay mamol kasi parang urang kay even escalate to the point where ada mo threaten tara ada lo ba kora kya koram lo forcer nga kalwase how do you manage people so nga niya tamal wase okay this is not safe ngira del remove rawan ra other tial island tiya ko ra wise survival ko ra out ra ding you know there's decisions that need to be made del kira la safety ra taro team and then you have to make those decisions so sige da dire kal no first time nga kal Lora step up into that kind of management role. It was I'm going to make the decision. It was for the Kudra Pekla my project and Gagit el one other has to vacate the island. Kama mamos el malmol maurior.
Why say?
So kora funny ding selbo mamda suring ngari aswab la ringi.
Why say gid? Leka maklolu do mang ikel within the tigil sela Palau Conservation Society and dire kamal pa to ka projects el involve ba klolu do au ulmang kredira ay kangal ikeludo dul losu te kami project officers agiriul ikeludo mo ikel project mo so and then ikadukuk o Mr. Cell Administration maun makdoling ita do darablu belal was able sa mul guk ngaringia angal sangu mera PCS tirigel lo ay kal project tirigel lo dar sa ikaludo double lo mesra membership hindi rat mo to ase or other belawa sorry tial sel el goal ra Palau Conservation Society el mga luwal ra environment rigid el mora future generations ma spera ada ma omsuba ma sel kuka enjoying yar at dia luwal dulu say credo kora di dia kangal do rule expecta nga seun may seguida suada lo o tira vuelvo así kaya PCS malo spera kay kidal membership kami pol sabi dal kuk ang kay kidal executive director el bu la mo maral el dire kara nga onitra adal mo join membership marta kama melguk lobantrir nga kal volunteer ako kabantrir mo maral legal obise kuk mo dokor o isra buhay tamom dingay pol sabi idal kuk kora ready lo asisil dabong sabir el kukora say the timing sign up el bul ngarinya el bi-weekly el every pay then sabir ngarinya say kuktel $2 $3 mang sayid sel membership el suad el malagep takaringin mo lo mesringi tirigel lo ay kalurior o mang kadukora Lolita kambuk mo ay sayil kukora
by sa talaga lose after raiga gidale PCS and then akamra PICRC
also after PCS el 3 years okorang kal my now boss alam lang nga plan ring move out Rapid Creek hindi kal soal kora move out unless yung psikiatra at mong kora walblel mong ususero nga puisa na PCS mong it wasn't maybe that time mo tasang anyam no otidra ulo mirale wasn't that ako lumdas was sige ako where my strength was maybe the science is where I need to be at the time makuk ne resign choose mo order makno researcher Rapid Creek for another 3 or 4 years so sige ako koram le next step after I saw ablur belawe koram lo mudulo al sila community lo bantarir tikay gidal maklol at yakwa set gidal ako next step so kuknora Rapid Creek and then eventually now kukna mora government so aknara NGO mora semal mora government so that mora wal succession
wayam kara ulumulal na kara terrestrial related tokora balu arayom lama of course arwabeyabal lokodal makitra biodiversity mabalu And then transitional more Creek which is
Mal diversity
oh,
experience ringin elang. Engilo a master ringin.
So, sera kara PCS ya, koram lo nga interest nga kara ka course.
right.
That was kana sekta say, what's your thing? Ako say, this is where maybe tagi the interest nga. One because ang koram lang nga drong le labaru matap, so nobody really wanted to work there. It's not easy place to work, so tokar adal soril mo dai, tokar adal soril mo hay, but nobody wants to go and trudge in the mother at Selakabors. So that was where I thought I could contribute, and there was not a lot of people working in that space. So sige da kukulum tas sige that was the angle for me. Hindi at the time over Bureau of Agriculture at the Dimasadra Areomel Mangal Karakar. Ya over Pickrick at the Dimasadra Angal Karakir el Melmet Murgapurs, and this is Telgapur Sawal Kora Aloy Teltiaka even institutionally and the set young Malngar Alela Tal Testelora di web tradlong leader tokol at or tokol alat. So sige da ko ram na interest nga, but of course ak ne Aurora Pickrick ko mam dating at the time ako ne Telgarker. So akuklo ngar sige de mlo kuklo interest nga katyal sirak nga Pickrick katyal tabe. And korak medel mo oceanography. So sige del wase sometimes ang kal ngir lang maranda even kabursa adu rabashol because ang kal briusa ulbong. So ang kal da pa facilitate ra either ang kora regrowth ra esel maranda or esel recovery ra reef alubeng inhibit. It can also inhibit them ang nga bashol at recover because of physical, right? Ang kagid physical parameter rata. So sige da ko koram no interest na so even though akmiru lagi gid el beclorio ra pikri ako koram no focus or sige del kora kulorio lo bangkela kora scientist ra aims sa Australia Institute of Marine Science. Loko ko meser sel kora oceanography ra bela o mesel wase sellable let's say sellable nga bleaching event. Of course, Miranda again Miranda survive el agel ngisel angel Miranda sel lober lo angkal bariu sel lomer nging la amor ger mangal bashal better recovery angal agel talgibel mo mring. So sige da ko koram lo interest ra nga Pickrick, and then eventually sirak duten mo school from Pickrick yak mlo sige del area they call eco hydrology al kora amasu borsel wase how can tial daba tial ngare tial daba ma pariusa tial ngar so tagi the physical component rata makarang interact and how does it affect ang kalkuk pairik life kal klangaran ngigel ma so sige the interaction ra ang kagi the daba mabrius mangkal dalom lang so sige da kora area of eco hydrology, and it ngora multidisciplinary area, so there's many people that come in from let's say solid waste waste that they cook sorry lo mesa wase how does a waste plume cell discharge let's say ngal sewer and how is the tel produce metal conditioner tel tao amargi or restrict rangkal the nutrient. So there's lots of people that come in from ngara marangara land-based tigil kukuluryo land-based source of pollution and may more tagi the field of eco hydrology. So it's kind of really well defined. It's a multidisciplinary kind of field that brings in other masuba ngaral the lom mangaringa arma mar other masubra and how those two things interact in say in the coast or even on offshore.
Wow.
Why say?
Bal lungil experience and then I think Yalap kada highlight raw say gidial radilar vela ore ngani gidial lete allel lulbunke like agency survela and then grow in her expertise is really something that it's an important story in Mora magkarel adol
malungil example
what we want to do how we build our upper cell ko tur cell me passion or of course ng gobur samle orak sa aman moringi but it led to you to the bigger the bigger thing, and then fast forward ang ministry, if I'm not mistaken, you started a scientist ministry at this time, right?
So my official title is applied scientist. So not just doing the science, but understanding science, and then how do you apply it in, say, management. So sige the role in that capacity, I've been assigned the mora korapek patangila riore. So initially, yakmlel mo support in the previous administration, yakmlel kuk mo support pan office. At the time, etane omes was yung makral develop para terrestrial monitoring, forest monitoring program. So that includes awasing kaya the omes rangkal current data, design ra study plots, ngarang abom measuring So sel urior akora ulamu sel ase akora blal take on ringi sel right now in sel division of forest, land and water. So tirgay gida ongora arse gida program, we hope se malamal diwa companion program ra pikrikal ko kanya coral reef monitoring program, that is a long term monitoring program. So se gida akora ulamu ursera I think 2019 kung das hindi ka malamal elang. So sige na first role ang akara ministry, and then nguk more change administration, and se ulabang kila direct restructure ministry. And so at the time akuk lo assigned and lo acting director Bureau of Fisheries, because we had a very difficult time recruit rataraat, and now I'm very happy a young lady akuk na take on herself role, Miss Persistil Bud Omelaw. And then ang akuk na transition kuk mo ongora artegi del PSL program ra ministry yung kadong na sa marine spatial planning, and in that capacity akuk continue like I said, to collaborate lang kila PCS on some elements of that work. So agi tell ko ra mo ba yora adire ko ra like na build a network nga. So it's sel ko in my capacity now yung pongar nga uriol nga matade ko, so maybe who's best suited to do this o halik ko loli engel angar nga. And then these are the kinds of how collaborations occur. It's because we know each other. Sabi adal ko ra diplokataklat at atu better gida move from halitatakalaurior to signing an agreement so I'm very happy that they gidal koram la aurior kay gidal pekal badang la aurior bela wa kuk na build their network that I know who's very good at community meetings, who's very good at facilitating very tough discussions. And ang hukmal maduol ra tiagit ang mal maduol ra computer. I mean simple things. But to build the network so you know who to call. Because I think the message is ang tiakal sa MLD mo ade medangero ko maduol marula ro ko. So the network is very important.
I see.
It's so important malungil le sera do mo la Yalap le highlight yourself factal was in the anniversary the Palau Conservation Society de lang. And so theme regida was to celebrate a collaboration, our legacy with partnerships, and this is an example. So kada waigel dilung ndakal kada madangel was ndakal salati tal other lorior kadingira dal kay nga sir rokoy erulat talurior. I think selguk pol gora pasyor of PCS in the grand scheme of things is kada umarangal was rokul other belaw feel responsible sorry misabaak la mga reyo mala resources travel belaw ma environment travel belaw o sisultan may kada PCS adire galway algor umter silo say balwa kida al other vela mabalwa al other vela therefore el the sweeter other vela rokuy agi angayu lamalun sel mores. And then ngari waya lusul scientist ministry ma arbebira direct expert talngal garbela amo oto daigel huk lovangel based training or skill schoolir ma experience or lolo sergi dra tokora science. I think that's that's where PCS direct mal gora proud ringi tegi del mlo theme o say kada celebrate tegi recognize yourself say waya history rakaw lulmura PCS emerald min me la kang ministry, and then we collaborate and you've built a network kal PCS amulmol go to organization for ako kakarosal daw earlier sa igid yaman important.
Loli akora di bring abra one ra I think a very tiada kal tokora rurior kora do super ngil academics tiada ko di tokora was how you conduct yourself. Akora recall ra ngara PCS tiada ko danyal was central board member ulagera nga kalwase. Ngara differentiate ra PCS from any other NGO. I didn't know at the time. Mangwase ngora miska ka kora drastic example mangwase kam imagine a PCS i-compare ngil mora let's say Greenpeace. What is the difference? Di ako ngay maku play guess multiple times. Muna kalwase PCS a non-confrontational. We approach issues and ngara oba syuka ngarigi ma tele la atu arat malibat ko ilbelu. And so tiang aman resonate with me for a long time. So when I reflect back, kukumes ra take the conservation landscape, and to some extent natalgi will drift away from that, and that to me is sad. Leng katokoram la muna kalwase. You know, other Greenpeace ang mabilsingiran mo ramara tarapya tial or tangarap kulara loldiwa klablang lirar wat amat ang.
I see.
That's not us. Hindi mo swala ba ko tingel wase. This is not the organization tel PCS atal wise. So now sa kora mo reflect back ang namo baby that time ang kataman mo passionate ra issues rekit mal tel tokor conservation na mo tokar avan nga alse compared to say it wasn't sexy then. It wasn't trendy, it wasn't viral, and ang yang namo I say. So there's a lot of people in this space. So sometimes ako rin sa aldaatu ang namo ngarngi ako ra obra aldaatu makora decorum gumdas wen diakal rather than facilitate through a conflict, the incite fuel a conflict. So from a personal level, there is a need for us to get back to that kind of they'll disagree, they respect each other, and I think that's something that's really personal to me, and I for us to imagine there's going to be a lot of conflicts. Give the loader at take the space, I give it more navigate through those conflicts without ngakal mo aldiram tala Lolita or ngakal mo o disrespectful akong atura Yalap. So say give the quorum ra conservation. I think katos perki del nakaram lang arangil talkibel time el balasa mal mutal instill arangir mkikanil adan maran med. You know, you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to be the bravest or bageo. Some conflicts are best. Conflict is usually resolved sometimes even small groups get through those conflicts. So over this 30-year period at PCS, we were facilitators of conflict. Dissipate the conflict. I get opportunities to advance slowly moving forward. Perhaps it's attitude, perhaps it's nature of our time. Facebook.
I see.
So you couldn't go there and fight and you know, so there's many avenues where you can fight now more than there used to be. So the only time I fight with you is now I can say stuff to you without you knowing on Facebook. So katakora mo kautlat kara say kita decorum or conservation or kita other bela luase we're not Greenpeace.
Right.
We're PCS. Kadang-kadang tele la torula prior and mga tele la handala different opinions and there are ways but you have to be trained in it.
I say lo banggela aigel dimla practice aigel blaka dale dar other bela ada bora balu ngania do madala ba tir ngania obisra governor obisra state aigel gidial البطاقة الثلاثة الإس أدر بيلا قدو سبيع عندي قدو اللي بعراه لا تبرابلو قدو مولو وغير الوساق مرتاقي جدا مقلل تتلل رولي PCS الملمون من organization جدا أدر بيلا. So your wealth of experience and then اسل قولين سرقاي you know inevitably اسل دومو رقرير كده we're young and we're starting. Emerald mulmul yala be as you grow, kaman mo ay point of maturity where face pressure, you're responsible for making important decisions. You're responsible for maybe breakthrough actions and decisions, and then ako question sa mga raling altang besel tokoy altang dim lakal way sila nga ramo girel lusul di way say hindi kal girel change. Of course sa community sometimes ang question a change may la ka ngat tayo del point where kung nga alabe mal maklolo diyor abalubelaw on behalf of the ministry, for example tial marine spatial planning so hans emel gora ditel libel ora smodi saygi die.
Maybe kora dimbas mo a little bit about ngaranga marine spatial planning.
Right.
So tell marine spatial planning all mo kasi ringil mo kal master planning efforts rabalu ang mal dio sisiu. Sel de rabalu ang gire del plan luase a school ng arger aral ang gire morger rabli rabulis ang arger. Ang ngaringa igel ko tokoy adi kalungil makmandi ka munguwa karaoke para do okay tira school. Ngarang agil essential services at agil medro hospital. So these kinds of planning efforts rabalu akmal kadi mo lo ya rata yawa seya marine spatial planning diwa dorura master plan rata bet ngarang agil be kalul speder ngi ngarang agil be biraw speder tang sepel makara imol basyo, let's say conservation ma tokora diving ma tourism mula asapel conservation area yang ngarang diving iti akmal matamal. And then ang ngayagel cook activities adi ka lungil mak. So kita dia ka sibet mining yan di ko example dia ka sa edel nga conservation area mas sibet mining lo ta kara imol basyo or ang dia ka sa edel ngwa certain let's say outfall ara sewage el mora basyo ngiya cook mal ba setya nga malong mga dangyar atak tiya kita community. So tiel effort tadi o meser tiya roki de te perbelaw ewase ngara luspela ngara kadaw spering it ngara tretelel markara dos mo oklay gel bekal bedangel out spederingi makadamini mai sa gay gidel conflict ko optimize cycle synergy cycle was since edel tourism is edel low conservation in one place. So that's basically what tegedel marine spatial planning lurior. And then of course controversial because of one thing. Because of the Palau National Marine Sanctuary, which is just a zone. Tiang ati imol basyo mawan lulspel. The MSP is bigger than this. Nganyam ne one ra question na igigit ko ram de question at ablu was nga difference ra MSP ma PNMS. PNMS is just a zone within the larger seascape or oceanscape. So ngomesa ra kadil PNMS, ma-omanget, ma-tourism, ma-transportation, ma-layout ra fiber optic cable. All of these things kaya rokulul speder tial tapete kirel ko ra talgipol mornya habla takalom sodel or kira klamtang kita ablu ngara activities sa toltak ngara doleak mo ngara klungel imo ngara klungel asaiser o mga itong waklang mga raklungel la conservation, mga raklungel la let's say areas that are designated open for tourism activities. So, ngora wal es lurion hindi kita other pelam la marurungi at different scales na balwat. So mga nga programs rawangar along mga ayang alo mes sel kuk tabara tala along lir dim na kadilo mes conservation to mes conservation ma tourism o mangyatra al sela imol space and try to designate areas. So tel MSP akuk tito ko ra nga para tanti maraming isel pa mes sa setyang ra bulkulurior. And it's something that we've done at multiple scales. Kadam lang nga masadra one management plan and masadra tilet siya tapi lang ayang mga along Kuro State na o mes regular conservation area now to mes arang lala Southern Lagoon. So I that's basically what MSP is. The controversial part is sige kura awal wasing maram strike a balance between fisheries and conservation, which is dim lang expected. That was expected. So these things are controversial not ra blur bela mablul other okid and particularly in the Pacific. So Segidil, I guess going back to your question about Segidil, Lukura was Damran Mongara Ramaklorior, sometimes a Mongaria misconceptions or Kokora Moblila, let's say Marian Altatu, Magdalaak. So I think that's normal. I think you start to develop coping mechanisms. So, maram address ay kay questions. Ako remember serable controversial whether I could open up PNMS or not. People text me, people call me. Sometimes at the sender nga kakora text from like numbers I don't even know. Like maybe ak nang maudodra PITI therefore ang swakal open up umangit or akuk mura like masayar maasam sado asaya to ko tamler adra a PITN na sko kilo marter tim tamlera oso yang masarap tila flatbed maral mura material am o mangit so amaran ngi til kadim net transporter adril me yang masarap bil singir mura blul ablen diakal close airport blul ab so there's a lot of these kinds of misconceptions mautal or ngagidel politician al amil arara tuna fishing tuna cannery among salal open na omangit mang mosapir export and mortagi del kompali ringi. If you know the fishery well enough kadam dengel lase ngal dabul target ringi ngil rapalur bela wa dial volcan. So kumun samal mo ken ang kiraman mo omangit ra maklo a percent fishery ringi wa RMI marwa kiribas. So there's a lot of these kinds of kora tokoye or wase kami biased tegid ko oral bang kala PCS yang nga kora community consultations and morabalu ako tetawase kama mabiased sa mendakal sa amal marura at yal kora community engagement magikuk mo oral bang kala PCS alabang ito asi undi ka director of PCS biased so like if kita rokul other thing nga biased if you're a sige datal tokol subi when you're a scientist is no matter who you are even if you're trying to be kind of balanced nga bias ra role at so the effort is how do you minimize that bias so that ang CML maran sa issue from multiple perspectives. So I think kay gidel kukura misconceptions sometimes maybe lang sudden mo defensive that's the first reaction but I think the real question is kataran mo understand dalwase where is this coming from? Whether other matak that they don't know enough, so they think, tial asap ela adikmet ela umangit rakluk. It's not that easy. They don't have a license. Abil singira they are licensed at all. Apolola license it takes months. So sometimes I get those kinds of comments come out of fear because they don't know. Well, like said so sometimes it comes from a place of somebody doesn't know something, so to assume things that maybe are not true. I think to some extent in Cook Marier, there's always deliberately the misinformed. That's tiang arngira ro kuilurior marokul society marokul group so it's a human nature so I think sige kasi pepila time megigil ko ramo controversial to pepila first reaction ra defense I think really the reaction is to pull back and try to understand where that is coming from and how you best address megigil concerns so at least that's my how I cope with it. There were times mo controversial at ko so so kalmo amurang restaurant din diakpong But that's just the way kita kira kalil balu kuriti ka dangi ngakaraw sa the stress tin ko rambring kita mo ka pa nga matat hindi kal swada lo kora mo murang mo kire man mo root. So I think I got up to personal experience, so people deal with it in many different ways. But I think the point is makarang apot understand their psychical perspective.
I see. And then in terms of marine spatial planning, so kada mga maklaring ilang in terms of aikel dolas mal kada marur tel to leng so adal ngaranga end result of those sigari or outcome of those sigari.
Yeah, I Lolita get a question, but she's been involved in the work. Yes. But sel kotal mle walel tal marine spatial planning was kada mle create a cell vision, and it took months. Ngubti awan al word sengara sel gora urrangali selurung ulet ma agel swad al girel tel de pet kidar other belau. So agim le ordering ira small group and more executive committee ko more baby ra group en chen sa 1 hour. So we went over this for a long time. Eventually kat lo serel ra language to korang part was protect Palau's ocean, provide for our people. Or kada malwal rather bed magsabiel del malmol spelling iya support target. So say kita korawal vision was muktigar gid if we disagree on how to get there, at least kada namo agree was muktigar gid ro koy awagi awase kada swat protect ta bed le kita low spelling. So say kita kora arangal self vision. Another part ng Lolia was in the past, all the other transportation map planner tir, other tourism map planner ngi, other kidil kangara conservation map protected areas map planner kid, arangara different sectors map planner tir. But yet they give the local sectors sa OSPE interact over the same ocean space. Yeah. And so tiang adirigal effort waseng makaranga da align and coordinate. I kay kitil patokol sectoral plan so that we know where each sector is going. If not takadwa the left el ima da ngartiang makuk right el ima da ngartiang yadakal ka dangel wase. Where are we moving collectively in the same direction? Al ubar adra conservation amral mong yara adra tourism amral patulabitang. So sige da adirigal kora amoktegal wase how as the government itself, how does it align and coordinate its efforts al girela osab aklela tabet magirela ba gelbekal badangela uspel.
I say. And what I've learned in this process and come to know is tiel ngawala radi adil bela ma blula ada bekal bulu ngani ngawala ringi maral it's used and controlled by industries, right? And I think in this process, wara mastri rat leader other bela الريغورد أو صورير موز السوير الجيرال ديال النواه اللي قبل دي تند اليوم دسر على السلا inshore.
So it's also an opportunity. Korama some of the knowledge hamal specialized them to there's two to three other belam thingy. So some of these things have namo I think called tang ra al sela. In my entire career, el blakulur belau, el tel tokor o mga tarang wala la namo swada la rapuay. Before and dim laka, kardim dingel wasing tangarang ngara el as el marara tunarger. E dia kado dingel ul ma tangarang arsay ma angara tele la podong arsay. So it was something that was not talked about. De la kok team na sel time kita mle we were okay.
Yeah.
Di lang en kora na mo ngi say kita appetite ma interest of ngara happen or say tangarang ngar say. So aksel gumes sel report ra PCS el gile sel first round ra engagement ra MSP. Ngari awan ra question el was say swak teluro ra MSP dik pagikla aluta open at bela balul belal mora foreign fishing. I hate to burst ngel bubble ngel atlo lekere sel question el alta nga foreign fishing al sela balur belaw nguk tingel mle foreign fishing mle land ang galel belaw e base belaw nge ameral el angar nge ko kon klela balu di el ang currently nga oqde madarngel el dial el license telo mangeder al sela balur belaw foreign fleet. So sometimes we think things are the way they are, but they're not. Foreign fishing. Foreign fishing. It didn't.
And also, so can you explain how that is tilang makarang yung malamon bel alsil sa tiangoy kiwangaral arrangement tra fishing el belo party too.
So foreign fleets will operate within the cell 20%. Yalalp is ay kakeketel vessels makumbali operate within REEZ. Seral bol close up PNMS and dimla ka language seral sel alwase magimo ba na fishing fleet foreign fishing fleet dimlak. So what it essentially did was ngel fleet el mlebe serbelaw particularly mirura tarap tangel omnget lomkatong na seng long line ngeyam le exit. Yaigel baby fleet el dimnak agel de gal lender bela de gal beisel bela ngara igel ngaringi ngara amal molma. So sel question ngel ada under the impression it was say sera the closer 80 and close to foreign fleet till remaining 20 India mil molmal open and dimnak language la alwase the closer 80 or top daro good foreign fleets. That's not what the PNMS Act did. So gel ada dasal wase ada boda chance of footprint of PNMS ang asoy sa foreign fleets. The foreign fleets are already ngara era at sela 20%.
I see. May lang ngaral type para ngaral type para fishing happen el ara sel 20%.
Wal tul badangel o mangeta happen or say gidel 20%. Sesel ngara eringa tel kombalira po fi. Edili kan ngara eringi sel kombalira Jackson. So tiel 20% ang aringa tul badangel o mangeta ringi. One sell long line el target mostly big eye. Ay gigel kora target lang kora mura sashimi market. Ay gigel the long line. Ay gigel the long line ay gigel lo sisiu lo mangeta lang aringa po fi ma Jackson. Yung aringa percent vessel ay gigel kora let's say baby rabalu and baby rabalu you typically bilas orbetia lo mo kadong ilwasing floating fat is el fada aggregator ang igla egal fada ngarinya sensor ngi metadinga igel timol moy taikan e mera dilire o mes el cellular aggregator ang igla etamol ngawu del go vi that's the type of fishing this said al happen rigid kida already mlaringa loud even before a PNMS Act luwaseng makulla floating fats so tigal percent al sel 20% agirir el dimora igel natural aggregations dingin mom udle tiramong so se amletara effort ergid luwase sel ngungal pere adam low sperang kal floating fat en mornya tender sitir el either ang attractam gigrel ngirla or moruling kal atro omket mal mo efficient enda ko tutrel bolol tinga telen ga tinga na tengwa ngara kan pure o meso sem la moryangi kala emol ngu so gegida pepira even before a PNMS ang laringi ilkora conservation measures within tel kukom le existing fishery so al gegida lo mga tanga malamol mal ngaringi gegida percent malong line sila 20% el 2 sometimes 3 al dial letter other belaw hindi kal letter other belaw tial el operate ay gel compalir belaw ay gel remaining el license del tial rangot al belaw
Yausel was saying right now there's about 30 vessels
usually ay gel total el license
ay gel total license
that doesn't mean they're all there all at the same time
and then among seguida ngawal era kukum so the marine spatial planning in terms of ngaral what's the next step ra kukirel tel el sela ashore
so tel ngora marine spatial planning kim ngora dim la kalobi قديم لو فيس رجيل واسه سلقت قدم لهم صادرة تلكلول نوال تلكلول exclusive economic zone ركيد السيل فيس 2 أما أو مصر تلقوك near shore هيكال legally ngara under jurisdiction la state governments السيل بقول واسه دي على national government تعمل واسه كميول هذا تم لوان را question الواسه dialog master planning ma marara sila angel atal amni atal ngart ma mga setel dial MSP kuk mo nga nga apolol tau to or mo replace ang arsel kuk planning ra state so dial MSP am orior dial dulase start from scratch so ngarinya already initiatives ra state المليغوت تنقول مو master plan رابلو انتي تقول لانيا تقليل الممسر ذا so there are some states in la pre-identify areas لونجي للقرى هاجي let's say تيجي المأسا قاسي تيجي داونجي لونتوال تا روبا قاسي تيجي داونجي التقرى aquaculture so most not all but I think most states أقرأ نترى لو مسر تبيل واسينغرا Arang ako raw basyo. So tial MSP at yakal replace or mo take over IK. So what it is awase. Okay, mel asuma tigil ngart mam na rulit yang el actual neighboring state ng blam karang. Ako na lala MSP ase makarang ato ko ra ala na ikal rior masum mo conservation area tiang yung usisya bulukul ra conservation area. So that these zones are kind of pwede nga consistency when you move from state to state. Before la conservation yung tawa setel ngar matul ne blira telal balu sometimes yung ngot alu urut yang opena o mga tiang close ra 2 feet away lang kaya kita boundary so part ra kaya kita marine spatial planning awase kada mo all dakta kaya kita lurari la state malasa malugara awase ngarnya opportunity rigid align some of those effort ra state mandiakal state the neighbor allow the right next to your conservation area. It's not good for your conservation area. So hagigid ako kora effort or sige near shore. It's not to replace ang alala national governmental abay di mo mase hagigid effort ra state and we're working with cell office ra Chief 6 making ra cell office ministry cell office ra Palaris nga siya kal state el kora pre-identify hagigid areas luwaseng makaranga cell tanga gen metakta kedo mesertel ara alala tabela near shore palurbelaw nga ra igel kora emerge either ang kora osisiw ngaray gel kora tilgibul kakngot yung raw reason yung takakngot approach ra itself palu so it's not meant MSP is not meant to replace I think it's meant to align and enhance kora malasam rol alter tial siya sing na cell management regidra tial near shore as a whole rather than diak kere siak mal dem tas ra state
I say yeah of course ay gala dia ka lo to gelo sak play mi un bora ngaram lumoy
dim de la 5 minutes Akora di remind them sab ami wilung kora sab edel ku kora muige last tal tiging eden di nga ka ngaringi karigal sol lodorsil mora buay luasei tegi da question tegi da ger el mora buay el ngaringi angu el mo ngaringi mora adal sab el maskida correct el answer agera-wase ang agera-wase ngoy ngara raging ulmo la Palau Conservation Society mal vital ger mas ko mangari adal sorry lo nger ulare sa tial malungil dadu mumkutong mera 488-4716 or
3993
okay ma 3993 7 wala Palau Conservation Society matiyagi dali sabi ilo dong olmer al timer tial Eco Paradise al 488-3477 why say man sabi idal ko kora mga ringa adal calls dim de la 5 minutes mo ko sabi idal ko kora akmo ige last al ngara do swedam sabi idal gidel tegi dal el program malungil tegi the program silgureng sa kumil kada ulterung yung malungil collaboration ra aurior ra ladrong la tegi the Palau Conservation Society tegi the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and Environment ligil tegi the Marine Spatial Planning so makam ko ra o muul so mir el almo ro era po Amerika
Maybe halipag po ngelo liya kora di mal appreciate tayo the cook invitation.
I see.
May contribute more til talk show and particularly kirel tayo the kora 30th anniversary PCS.
I see.
Makti encourage ra tigel adal cook ngaria I know we're facing really hard economic times. This kung ngaria si ML Spare you can donate and become a member.
I see.
Actually encourage ra mgaril at mo o sikay kay kidel luriore and sel dokora to sigaw ro kadablo lo sigaw tigel dokora ngaringil sa et mo ngit dokora kaider gide so sigidel tilira elwa se akmal le fortunate no ra PCS at a time am laringa therstal maklol adal ne audio ringi how valuable ay gidel ko kora tleta ra audio el ploto takal kiplo plo ben trin maruli kora no sabi kal subo ay gamra ringa takal ay kal hay kaplo barrot el tokora kaplite misel tepora di kapil biot to sis aklat tarangal ngal alit so akmal appreciate tigege del guk mlaringir sel time el koram ne take the effort so self value ra sege del mentorship partir awase why gid el guk kora namot give advanced in our careers we should take the time and the effort el mentora tigel guk PSL generation so akmal di more sege dem lang asuri la PCS is one of the unique places I've worked. I said, the baby let the board have a toklo yoring. Take it away, maltitiagis. Sell the mengarang, or till ako kung alelangang. A PCS as sell marngi ang rogo ya dingar alem.
I say.
Kamo adra those, kamo adal melusura report, kamo ta field and momela veira. So it really is a place where you learn all kinds of aspects, and the more you learn about the whole, you know, kita sa conservation about going to the ocean in Masaragerte. There's Armelus Akran, tamar report, tamar other although, tamar fundraise, so there's many different skills you can learn in a small place. Move from a bigger place because moral maklol organizations and then even government. Yung mal mo kora kaltuk labrem, so you're not free to do the different things. So a lot of people see it as additional work, but I saw it as an opportunity to learn something in because nature organization na nekakare and people knew each other. Yung nebyo kita kora kukmosuwirat al marulang arang makukmom do ngali say gidel mo arang. So that was the value of PCS to me, and I hope ang sabi el mutul malamol 30 years could contribute more maybe young people that are coming into the profession.
Yeah. Elu say just quickly osungem for the next 30 years how elakangara tokora dab kamla tokora blue etel tokora climate change. Can you end with that? Tangara kora osungem for the next 30 years lo say ngara isel mo important to tackle learning from a community perspective, ministry. Yeah.
I think climate change has been ongoing for a long time. Sometimes ang amlarin di kita huktim na kalsal ngara forefront why. And sometimes it's too big that we can't handle. So we say, tiya kita climate change, but we really can't do anything about it. So everybody dorur tiya kita. And so now I think the whole world na mo mesang impact ringi. We're seeing this now fires magir Hawaii even. So there's these kinds of events that namo awaken a consciousness not only balul atama al kuk nariya there's target other well dim nakatsalo marang was it this is happening. El ang segi de akum daseng mo important legita maranya dia kal kita ko sa climate change. Palau is very small even though selbo mo mesa per capita kita kloa tel emission per capita, and that is really because we import everything we eat, we import everything we build with. So we are I got carbon footprint that I got rogul the import very high, but essentially a production ra CO2 ngara mainly ngarang al balu ngara maklol balu. So what that means is more increasingly important diplomacy, and I think even with fisheries resources, diplomacy is going to be the big tool. If we don't have people who are well versed in climate change on the ground, who are working in the regional and international space for us to advocate for to reduce emissions. And I think that before dim nakatasalom da certain diplomacy, So I think now that's becoming in the forefront, especially when ocean issues become high politics within our region, given not just climate, sometimes it's climate, but wrapped under like the geopolitical
Yes.
push and pull within the region at the moment. So those will affect work on the ground. كذا كيرت المو understand their sake the wasing makarat navigate that regional and international space. Selbebile agimura region or ngara negotiation ngara ngeme. Git other belasem ngara kom dilul mura other shabal man other brigelma. You know, sometimes it's very good to be transparent, but there are other things when said sukum kadangara negotiation hindi nga pasal sa eden mo share let's say akmur elang higida nga niya office ra American mo office ra Shabal mo office ra Taiwan nga tel belaw mangwal mo kridio orta ka targida sa dabora igel kida alda adu so I think that's an element that is really new to me, and I think thank God to another founder of PCS, Dr. Caleb Otto. And very for nga kan mora class ra in 2015. Very for nga sa gidang UN ambassador was lusong gira man more take the class. Well, you know nga kadiak nga pala si kadiak nga diplomacy ambassador niya say it's going to be useful to you. Et tel class amne a 1-month course on the law of the sea. Say gidel time yung le open rap tulugol was say, you know, no matter what you do on the ground here in Palau, so unless we convince other people and neighbor do the same, what we do here in terms of climate, and so say amalne open the swirl say diplomacy and these big issues like fisheries that encompass the Pacific, climate change. So I think say that to me is where the action may be. And so you know, you can contribute to this work without sometimes it's you need to know a lot. Negotiation skills. Those I think are forefront.
So sige diplomacy mit mo sa emil kora. Como tengi klelangi kung tengi scientific name ringi endi ko kora diplomari di waisel di mo sen kora mle delo da al du. Sige dato atru aswad al mutul moringi.
Yalap, just quickly, I'm really glad that I'm emphasizer saying lang namo da kalwang ramon the no man is an island in today's context. Rogul tokol doru rabalu mer PCS local NGO mura ministry mura governmental to other belaw adi ulakwa kal man muraigel dire kal mlamativ a global level. So a diplomacy order al sela bilwat milmaran micro bilwat, so that's really good. No, I'm just kamsulang Yalap obviously there are PCS malamol mal lo real bangela lo sa ministry Marokod partners or DW Belao, Creek, TNC, Maigal state government especially. Dirigay governors maradrabalo. El guk kora mamalas ersel wasay anexo ko der rage oy ang mga so mal masawla lusan mertiaman share tial malungil experience.
I say mal
from program manager of PCS all the way in Algara ministry, so malungil experience sa mansula.
Why say gide matang dilberi tegi de malore gasolistri gide terun kegarel legabil mal no sabil meskita gel insider ti raigalureri ra Palau Conservation Society rangara mongol milmuter elang kadmalore gasule lalu kusel ngara national government take invite ring in May menseregel experiences ring ngara Palau Conservation Society tawre gasule la Lotita diregal ngara PCS diregal kukora sabil gora mongaringia ay gel ul the swell gerel tegi del togora marine spatial planning seguida diregal to ngila isel waseng mo angarang togora kuk sabil ko mongaria support trabuay.
Okay. Ngayon ang kalkular el question el mulo ko rin.
Oo. Kalabong.
Okay. Caller.
Oh yes, mal correct. Tanklem. Karingel. Ay, kamran masaula. Price ka nga Palau Conservation Society. PCS allocated Rosel second floor para may barel mang sabel sukumang kanga anytime kami yung ata. Oo, kamran masaula.
Kamrami sulang ya karngel. Oy, hindi kami kung tirakal mo. Oh. Okay. Sulang di ba mga price ka okay. Bye.
Okay, mal masaula. So, sa kita malungin ko man lehit nga rin nga colors sabil ko rin kasi sabil may malaya.
1994 nga ka-graduate high school.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sige. Nga katila ka, nga kamlara
1994.
kamlara tourism industry. Marokong emlon mo o Switzerland. Walak nga na tourism ya aktira ka mo mo kahit de ko tingin kailangan mga kaulabes sa PCS at sige daw ngil. Emang brother na ako planning ko bisa nga ako apply makukpag at tayo del malo ngila.
Matingin.
Akbara kan sa city, Missouri, na school. Yeah.
Why say malungil ko naman lang sa tawag nga sulit trigil rogul adalo lang sa tayo del environmental ara PCS ikada mga madalor article adal mereng sa ringira next sa 2 Tuesdays from today hindi na kada mo mlara chairman ng kagi del Moses Uludong ni chairman ni board member kung mo interview ngira igel ko experiences sa ringira al sila PCS so malawrang nga sulit terung malawrang nga sulit ingel color malawrang nga sulit tialblara Eco Paradise orang nga sulit tigel betok la adaluloreng sa tiay del environmental RPCS ko man saul ma annex 2 Tuesdays from today. Okay, tong si mere spider.
Okay, sige daw ulo pangalila talkshow gidra PCS tiang amlarngi ra ongilulurior ngi email kap singil ongedel bula 2024.